I'm Shweta. I have over 16 years of experience in IT and software.
So my name is Geoff Burke. I'm a senior cloud solutions architect at Tsunati.
My name is Alistair. I am a contract senior DevOps and platform engineer working for the UK government.
Good evening. The topic today is CKA Exam Preps for Success, with a big surprise at the end, okay? But I don't want to talk about it first. They wanted to put it in the title. I said, no, people won't stay to the end. So this is what we're going to talk about. I'll introduce myself first. So my name is Geoff Burke. I'm a senior cloud solutions architect at Tsunati. I've been working 20 years in IT, and I mainly deal with data protection now. So I did a lot of data protection with physical servers, then virtual servers, and about 3 or so years ago, I started to get into Kubernetes. And just to give you some background about Kubernetes, of course, is that my company needed to do something with containers, and someone said, do Kubernetes. And having been in IT for a long time, I thought, okay, on the weekend I'll read, and on Monday I'll set it up. That did not happen, obviously, because it turned out to be much more complicated. So I failed miserably on the Monday because I didn't know what I was doing. At the same time, though, I got really interested because I could see just how much the complication, but allowed flexibility. So it's complicated, but it was flexible. Okay, my certifications, I've gotten all the certifications from the Linux Foundation, the SCAT, the CKA, the CKS, and the TNA. They asked me to be a beta tester because I was at KubeCon 2021 and it was free. So I said, I'll do it. The only bad thing about being a beta tester is they give you all the questions. You normally get 20, and like I got 60. And so it was a bit of an experience in doing a 60 question exam. I passed it, luckily. I'm also a Beam certified architect and certified engineer. And most importantly, I just recently became a KodeKloud ambassador, okay? And I was very pleased about that because I love KodeKloud. And I'm not saying that because they're going to send me like a t-shirt or a hat, okay? Because I really do like it. Okay. My LinkedIn is down here. I think we put that in the chat perhaps, or later you can just ask and I can copy it. Okay, so let's get started. Certified Kubernetes Administrator Exam. Okay, what is it? All right. When I ask what is it, I'm also asking what's the value of it. And the value of it, when it comes to Kubernetes world, I think is extremely high. And the reason for that is from my own experience. The last job I had, I was working mainly as a virtualization data protection specialist. But in my free time, I was learning Kubernetes and I was aiming for that exam. And when I passed it, we have a little Slack channel. I posted in the random, oh, by the way, I passed the CKA. And suddenly, these superstar engineers who never talked to me went, oh, wow, Geoff, that's really interesting. So what I'm trying to say is it's a very respected exam. People don't really know the CKS that much yet. The CKAD, I think, is around, and KCNA is very new. So the CKA is really the creme de la creme, as the French say. It's like a badge that, okay, this is really important. It's a tough exam. All right. How much does it cost and where can I take it? So how much does it cost? It's expensive, okay? It's expensive. And that's, I know, especially for students, a big problem. The good news is that KodeKloud, for instance, if you're on the mailing list, will warn you about discounts, okay? And you can get some pretty big discounts. I bought some of my exams for 50% off. I think there's a Black Friday sale that goes on. They have various sales during the year. And one time I remember it was KodeKloud's emailing list, or I think it was on LinkedIn. They said, hey, there's a big sale, run and grab it. And I did. So you don't have to pay the full price. And I would even say, put off your exam for a while until you can get a discount because they are quite expensive. And we can look on the page, I think it's like $395 US. And I'm in Canada, by the way. So when I see US dollars, it's $100 more expensive. So that's important to keep in mind. Where can I take it? It's a proctored exam, okay? You take it at home, which has its challenges. Or I know in some countries, I think in Canada too, you can go to exam centers that offer other exams and you can say, hey, I've got this certified Kubernetes exam. Can I take it here? You don't have to do anything. Just give me the internet connection and they'll do it all. And that's something that you might want to do because at home, and I'll talk about that, there are a lot of challenges, especially if you haven't done a proctored exam. Mind you, after COVID, I think almost everyone's done something proctored because we couldn't leave our houses for that long. Okay. How hard is the exam? I get asked this all the time. I took the exam 3 years ago when it was 3 hours, and I found it very hard. I actually failed the first time, okay? I'll admit that. And it wasn't because I wasn't prepared. It was a combination of things that I didn't really understand what was needed. And I had problems at times, a very important factor in these kind of exams, okay? Keep that in mind. It's not just knowing the material, it's being able to solve the problems under pressure in the given time frame. So that's the key. Okay, what do I need to do in order to pass? That's what everyone's here for, right? They don't want to see my hat and all that. You want to know how to pass. And I'm going to answer and say for every person here, that could be a different answer. However, by sharing our experience together, we can take other people's experience and then make our own path. And that's how I think you can be successful. There is no, in my opinion, cookie cutter solution to pass IT exams, unless, of course, they're multiple choice and whatever, because we're all at different levels of our experience and we're at different levels of our knowledge. Some people are really nervous. Some people just couldn't care less. They're whatever. So that's a question we're going to try to answer today. So my exam experience, people ask me this all the time. What was it like? The first time, it was terrifying, okay? And I'll tell you why it was terrifying. I'd never done a proctored exam. Now, I read the warnings and I read the site and, what to expect. But until you've done it yourself, you just don't understand it. So the first thing is, very important, make sure you have a web camera with a string USB. Don't use your laptop because the proctor wants to see everything to make sure you don't cheat. And when he says under your desk and you've got a laptop, you can imagine pulling my laptop and whatever. Very important. You have to have your doors closed. You have to show your ID. And a thing about that, which is difficult and which I didn't really understand, was you're ready for an exam. You're really fired up. You're ready to go. And you're spending like half an hour through these checks, ID, check the room, check this. And that has an effect on you. For me, it was frustrating because I wanted to start, I wanted to get this over with, and and they type. It's not that they're talking to you, they're typing. And as on social media, when someone's responding to you, you see the little thing saying person is typing and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And that just drives you crazy. So you have to prepare for that as well. Okay, the other big problem for me was, now it's 2 hours, but it was 3 hours in my time. You're not allowed to say anything. And when I say anything, I mean that many of us, when we're taking the exam, like to talk the questions out. If it's a long question, so I remember the Microsoft exams, they put 50 lines of silliness and there's one important line. So you go through going, okay, we have 3 networks, and you don't even say it, but your lips are moving. You're not allowed to do that because they've had experience of people with little cameras and little chips or something. And so people can read lips. So you're not allowed to do that. And I got in trouble because I got one question, which was really difficult. And I went, oh, shoot. I won't say the real word, but it was like something a little worse. And he said, no mouthing the questions. I went, oh, no, I wasn't mouthing. I was swearing. Oh, okay, that's all right. But so keep that in mind. You have to keep your mouth shut, which for me is difficult, as you can tell. So I tape it up. Again, things you might not expect, but during the exam, that can really affect you, okay? Because if you've gone through practice exams and you're used to doing blah, 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 and you can't, suddenly your hands are tied. It hurts you. Okay, next. This is after the exam, but it's something that was difficult for me because in the past, all the exams I took, right away, you get either congratulations or sorry. With Linux Foundation, it's, I think, up to 24 hours you have to wait. And I didn't realize how bad that would be because you wait for an email from them or you can log into the site to see your result. And so like I'm checking my phone all day long and there's no answer. And this is a true story because the first time I failed, and of course the email comes and it'll either say congratulations or some kind of thing like we're sorry. So you know right away, if you see congratulations, whoa. And I had been waiting for the results and my wife and I went to a theater, okay? And this is a true story. And I can't remember what the play was, but during the play, the main person gets killed and it's really sad. And I was sneaky and I checked my email, congratulations. And I went, yes. And so everyone's looked at me like, whoa, the guy just died. So make sure you check your exam result in the appropriate place, like not at a funeral or something, because if you pass, you're going to be very happy. All right. When the first time I took it, I failed it. And it was very upsetting because I waited for 2 days. I got the result and I failed it by something ridiculous, like 3 points or something. It had been 3 hours. I failed by 3 points. And I honestly said to myself, don't know what more I could have done. And so for a couple of days, I said, I'm never doing this again. That's it. I'm going to go drive buses. I'm sick of IT. But of course, the third day, you think, but I went back to it. Okay. So I went right back to it. And that's what you have to do. Obviously, the only way to succeed in life is to fail first. Right? I don't know many people who have not failed. And so really, when you're learning how to succeed or pass tests, you have to learn how to fail them. So if you fail them correctly, then you can pass later on. And don't quit like I was going to. Okay. All right. So how to succeed? Important question. And as I said before, I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer. Okay. However, by joining together and using sites like KodeKloud, it gets easier and we can find a solution for our unique situations. Now, this seems old-fashioned because I'm an old person, but it works, and it works with young people too. Have a plan and write it down on paper. I don't know what it is, but if you take a piece of paper, and I do this with my little clipboards, which are really old school, but when you actually sit there and you write down your plan, you write down what I'm going to do, what are my tasks, you put little check marks next to it, it seems to work better than the electronic stuff. I don't know. You put in electronics and you have disaster and you lose all your data. There's your plan. It's gone. But also you can go and scratch things out. That's my personal way. You might not like to do that, but I found that worked. So I had to write it down on paper and I try to follow it through. There's a lot of information out there and it can get very chaotic and confusing. And with something as difficult as the CKA or the CKS or even the CKAD, which I found difficult, you have to remain focused. Okay, which in our world of social media is very difficult, right? Okay, check out all the information on the Linux Foundation site, and I'll show you that site right now. It's important. I'm basically like many system administrators, I'm lazy, okay? I'll be honest. That's the only reason I learned scripting, so I didn't have to do any work. And I don't like to read tons of pages, curriculum and all that. I just like to get to it. There is important information here. It really is worth your while to go through and read everything they're writing here. So right away, you see the cost that I was talking about now, $395. That's American dollars. So that's going to be like 400 something Canadian. So you want a discount. Train for the exam. Here, they're talking about training the Linux Foundation. I did one Linux Foundation course. It was okay. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I don't think it prepared me for the exam. At the time, this was 3 years ago, they had no practice exams. It was very theoretical. Or there was a practice exam where they had the question and you do it yourself on a system and then you find the answer. So it didn't emulate the exam situation, which is really important for this exam. Anyways, you can see here, there's a lot of details. They're telling you the domains. Now, a lot of you might know this. So this might be like going over things you already know, but believe me, there are people who don't and they'll miss it. And for instance, when you look at this, you know where you need to focus more. So 25% on cluster architecture, installation, configuration, 30% on troubleshooting. So it's important to know those. The handbook, very good to read the handbook, curriculum overview, exam tips, really need to go through all those. And what I did was, after I failed, by the way, not the first time, I went through these things. And again, myself, took a piece of paper, but you can use Notepad or whatever. I wrote down key elements there that I thought would help me. So it's important to do that. Okay, and you can subscribe to updates, information, webinars, whatnot. All right. On top of that, so here's the site where I just was. That was and I think we'll put it in the chat as well, the certification SKA. There's also the frequently asked questions, which is important as well. Again, I tend never to read frequently asked questions. I don't know. It's like you buy a new vacuum cleaner and their instructions. I just thought, I don't read all this stuff. And then I break the vacuum cleaner. Similar thing. Okay, frequently asked questions. What is the exam? Similar to what I've explained. What are the different certifications? How is it proctored? This is important too, because they change things. When I did the exam, it was different. So now, as I understand it, there's like a little browser thing comes up, the PSI environment. When I did it, we had our own browser. And so a lot of people would create tabs in the Linux documentation because you're allowed to look at the documentation, and they'd have a tab with all the bookmarks. So that's different now. That wouldn't happen. And I'll talk about that as well. Again, very important information here. Go through it, what you need memorized. The ID is important as well because it has to be a government ID. And let's see the score. The score is always good to know. All right. Okay, let's go back to this. And also, the KodeKloud community has experiences. This is one we've taken as an example, but people have gone through the exam and they're talking about their experience because, again, the exam can change The Kubernetes versions can change. One example is when I did the exam, autocomplete wasn't included. So you had to set up autocomplete right away. So if you didn't have autocomplete, you're going to lose a lot of time with typos and typing. And remember, this exam is time pressure. Okay. What they're doing is they're setting you up for real life situations in life when you're pressured by time, your boss is shouting, fix it now. And you have to fix it quickly. Okay. So you can't waste time on typos. You have to have shortcuts. You have to memorize this stuff and to know where things are in documentation. So going through people's experience is obviously very important, and I highly recommend doing that. Okay. The most important thing about passing the exam is KodeKloud gives you results. And again, I'm not saying this because they made me an ambassador or they're going to give me a shirt or something. It's because that was my experience. I honestly think if I hadn't gone through KodeKloud's courses, I probably wouldn't have passed. Just from the point of view of, even if I'd memorized the entire textbook, just the typing, okay? The shortcuts, using them and all this, that I wouldn't prepare for that. And I honestly looked and I couldn't find another site that was similar. So what do we have here, which I like about KodeKloud? People who want to take the CKA, as I said before, are coming from different backgrounds, different levels of knowledge. And I ask questions. For instance, a couple weeks ago, I had a Windows administrator who's been a Windows administrator all their career saying, hey, Geoff, I want to take the SCAL. What do I need to learn? I go, do you know Linux? No. Okay. I said, you've got to do some Linux first. And then this question, what do I do after that? What do I do after that? KodeKloud has solved this problem for you because they have these things called learning paths. Okay. So Linux, DevOps, Kubernetes, and I'll show you here. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Oh, by the way, there's the person's talking about their experience in the exam, and that's just one example, but look at that. Very long, very detailed. I should have showed that. And they've even included here the new PCI environment, which is really good. So you can actually see what you're going to do. I should have mentioned that before. Okay. So here's KodeKloud, and here are the learning paths. So whatever you want to learn, you can go through it and point to it. So if I go Kubernetes, it'll show me, what do I need? What level am I at right away? Okay. Basics. Do I know the basics? No. Okay. Got the courses, whatever. And eventually you get to certified course. Okay. So very important, and it'll help you because again, to successfully pass the CKA or any exam for that matter, you have to have an understanding of where you are right now, an honest opinion, right? Where am I? What is my knowledge? Because if you don't know your weaknesses, you won't be able to overcome these exams. Okay. KodeKloud Slack. Now, I'm going through the first things. I'm leaving the really big, exciting stuff for the end. KodeKloud Slack is fantastic, and it reminds me of the Linux kind of forums in the late 90s or the email groups in the late 90s. I'm not old. When I was learning Linux, I was really impressed by the respect and the attitude of the Linux folks because I would come in asking my sometimes silly questions, and I'd be expecting to be beaten up and, oh, what are you doing here? The attitude was very good and very helpful, and it really helped me in learning Linux. And I see the same type of attitudes in the KodeKloud Slack, which I will show you now. People, they're not going to make fun of you or anything like that. They will help you out and give you good advice. And there's all sorts of stuff here, Mike, tons of Slack here. But here is the Certified Administrator exam part of the Slack. And again, there's the office hours thing. It's advertising. But people will ask questions here. They'll say if they pass the exam, so you can show off here if you want to. I like to do that when I pass, because when I fail, I never tell anyone except here. But it's a really good resource. And again, it's not just the CKA, it's all the exams. And again, the behavior here is very nice. It's moderated, but generally people are very helpful. So I really recommend that as well. Okay, KodeKloud Engineer. Now this isn't particularly for the CKA, but it's an excellent idea. And I haven't seen it anywhere else. It does include Kubernetes in it, but it's also the whole DevOps. And what it is, you basically join a pretend company and you get by email tasks, and then you log in and you do the tasks, and they're like problems, things you have to solve. And I remember telling one person at work about it, and they go, Geoff, don't you have enough emergencies at work that you deal with every day, and now you're doing them for fun? What's wrong with you? And I said, yeah, but these ones I can press skip, go to the next one. I can't do that work, but I'll show you that as well. This is just a really fun idea. And again, it's important when you're studying to have fun, because if you're not having fun, you're not enjoying yourself, you're not going to want to do it. Let me just change this here. My Mac is acting up. Second. What was that? One second. It's over here somewhere. There it is. KodeKloud Engineer. So you start work at a pretend company. They have promotions, okay? you get promoted. And now the latest thing is you can actually put this on your LinkedIn, right? That you can actually say, I've been promoted whenever. You want to be careful though, because your real boss might get suspicious like you're doing 2 jobs and getting 2 salaries. It's a lot of fun. I can't remember what level I'm at. Sometimes I get busy and you can pause it, right? So you can pause it and then you won't get any tasks and then you can join up again. But it's a lot of fun. A unique idea, and there is a big Kubernetes chunk. The good thing about that is you only get to Kubernetes after you've done like some Linux and then some Docker and other things. So you get there prepared. So it's kind of like a learning path as well. Okay, now this is the big number 1 thing. Number 2, because number 1 is going to be the last, of how to pass this exam is to take this course. This course for me was fantastic because it not only has excellent deep material, but it also has the practice tests, the practice lightning labs, and the mock exams. Those I would consider to be the most important things. If you ask me the one thing that I felt to be the most important that helped me with the exams was these, okay? Because it gives you a very similar experience to the real exam, okay? And I'll show you that in a second, which is important because I said it's a very different exam. Now, some of you might have done a lot of these hands-on exams, so you're used to it, okay? I hadn't. I know a lot of people who are now coming to the DevOps world have not. And so it's a real challenge. So let's go and take a look at the course. And I am doing the course again because I did my CKA 3 years ago, and it has a 3-year validity. So you have to, in 3 years, redo it. So this summer, I have to redo it. So I'm redoing the course. And it's kept up to date, obviously, which I'm going to warn you, there are courses out there, especially Udemy. You have to be careful if you take them and you do them, and then you look last time updated 6 years ago. Guess what? That's not going to help you very much. So these courses are kept up to date. And as you can see here, I have already gone through some of them. And at the end of them, of each section, you have a practice test. And the practice test is similar to the lightning labs and mock exams, slightly different. So for instance, if you go into, let's just go into, I don't know, Kube API server. You go in, you have nice little diagrams here, and they also tend to be relatively short, which are good because I don't know about you, I have trouble sitting like all day long, 8 hours in a classroom on trying to, it just overwhelms me. 4, 5, 10 minutes, short to the point. You can go back and redo it. I find that style learning easier for me, okay? Now, at the end of these, you'll see practice tests, okay? So here's a practice test about pods, and you go in there, and again, it's a lab. So again, it's already emulating the real exam situation, okay? This is, in this case, because it's a command line exam, these are not multiple choice. You actually have to go in there, and you have to type commands, which is very important. And generally, it takes 2 or 3 minutes to start up. Boom, look at that. Get started up. And, oh, and that's new. Look at that KodeKloud design. They're getting a little bit more flashy because it used to just be command line. So you'll get the question. You'll have to find out. So how many namespaces are there? You get NS, look, Q. So they got shortcuts in there already. And I just count the namespaces and then answer the question. So that is the setup. Once you're finished, it'll give you a mark. And for each section, you have that. So already it's preparing you. Now, on top of that, they have at the end the lightning labs, okay, which I found to be excellent. In fact, when I was doing this course 3 years ago, they introduced during the course the lightning lab. So I'd already finished the course and I was like the last step. And then suddenly I saw, wait a minute, I went from 90% done to 70 and I got angry. And then I said, oh no, they've added more. So I was happier. And these lightning labs are right here at the end somewhere, lightning labs, okay? So also very similar, maybe a bit shorter. And the good thing too is they have a section describing the lightning lab. And in fact, I think in all the sections in the practice test too, they actually have a video, somebody's doing it and is telling you, how to do it, which is very important. Last, but certainly not least, we have the mock exams. And these are gold, okay? Because it's like the real exam. Here too, you have the solution, okay? So you do the mock exam and then you have it's a video of someone doing the solution, explaining it. Again, it's a lab format. You bring it up and it'll start up, same thing. And I've got to end the other one. I started the other one, but it looks very much like the practice test, but it's a whole exam instead. So I opened a practice test and I didn't finish it and I jumped to this, so it didn't like that. So you have to behave. The other thing about these is you can redo them as many times as you want. So another great resource outside of KodeKloud is KillerShells Exam. And KillerShells Exam, practice exams are so good that they actually, Linux Foundation added them. You get 2 free ones with every exam. Now, they're called killer for a reason, okay? Because if you have an ego, it's going to kill it right away. People say, and I say myself, that KillerShells exams are harder than the real exam. The problem with them is you get 2 attempts at them, and it's 1 exam, 2 attempts, and it does give you a printout of the question and the answer, but it's only 2 attempts. That's good to check your knowledge and your weaknesses, so it's very good in that sense. The problem is, as I said before, these exams, you have to get your physical skills up to par. Your speed typing, your knowledge of the shortcuts, your ability to reference back to Linux documentation, Foundation documentation. So I'll mention that, I think I forgot. It's an open book exam. They will let you read the Kubernetes documentation. You can't Google, obviously, but you can read the documentation. And people think, great, it's easy. No, because if you don't know what you need to know and where it's located, you'll waste a lot of time looking for it. Very important tip as well is you have to create your own manifests at times, so your own YAML files, okay? And when I first heard the term YAML, I thought it was some kind of a woolly mammoth. It sounded like this big animal with fur, YAML, big thing running around. And it turned out to be true. Why? Because of indentation, okay? If you don't properly indent your YAML files, they don't work. And I've gotten stuck in situations where I've missed something, where I've used a tab somewhere in a big YAML file, and I've wasted like 30 minutes looking for this thing, okay? So you want to copy and paste. If you have a question where you have to create a volume, like mtdir, you want to know where in the Linux documentation you go to, copy and paste it, put it into your YAML file here, and then make the changes. And the reason you want to practice, another example, when I first started, I used Vim or V because it's everywhere, and I'd never really pasted things in the V. I don't know why, never YAML files. And the first time I pasted it, it went all over the place, right? So I spent, again, 20 minutes, moving it all around, whereas you can do set paste, and then it'll put it in perfectly. So these are little things you don't think about until you're at the exam console. So it's important to remember that as well. Here you've got the exam, and you've got 12 questions. And another thing, notice here, it has weight of the question. Another excellent feature because, and there are different philosophies about this, the questions in the exam, the real exam, have different weight, okay? And they're sneaky sometimes. Sometimes they'll have a question which is only weight 2, and believe me, I never figure out why one's 8, one's 2, but one will be weight 2, and it'll be complicated. And what they're trying to do is make you waste time on that, and then you get to the weight 20 or the weight 50, I don't think they have a 20, the weight 12 question, and you're running out of time because you wasted too much time. So my personal advice, what I did and other people have done is go to each question, read it. If you look and it's weight 2 and you don't understand it, go to the next one, come back to that one later. Because it's important to get right the weighted questions, the heavier weighted questions. So similarly here, we have weighted questions. So again, it's preparing you for that mentality. Oh, I don't know this. Okay, I'll go to the next one. So that's important to know as well, the weighted questions. Yeah, and again, you'll go through the exams and you'll go right to the end and you'll go to score. You can redo these as many times as you want. So even when I knew all the answers and I knew I was going to get 100%, I still redid these maybe 10 or 15 times. Why? Because it became muscle memory. Okay. If I need to do a kubectl describe pod, it was out in 2 seconds. It's just like you're training for a marathon or something. You learn it. Okay. And one thing I'll digress about right now, which is important. I've had people say, oh, Geoff, I like brain dumps and all this. And one of the things I always say against the cheating techniques or brain dumps is because it's important to remember the exams are not for the piece of paper. Okay. It should be obvious, but some people it isn't. When you're studying for something complicated like this, it's not so much the paper you get at the end or passing. It's the skills you're developing while you're learning. Not just the skills in Kubernetes, but the skills of, okay, how do I deal with a problem? How do I deal with a failure situation? How do I deal with something I really don't understand? I'm getting frustrated. You go through these, you overcome them. And then later in your real working life, these skills are present. So yes, you have the piece of paper, but you obviously also have the Kubernetes skills. Again, the person who does the cheating, when there's a disaster at work, guess what? They're in trouble. They're fired. That's without a doubt. But also, you never know what to expect, and especially coming from a background of data protection with disaster recovery, you never know what to expect. So one of the key skills is to be flexible. And to be flexible is through the learning process. So that's why I like doing learning, and I've never cheated because there's no point. Okay, so let's move on. I think we're ready. And again, we'll have questions about this. You have questions now. I just wanted to steam through this first. Now, the big surprises and the big, I would say, for me, fantastic, because I'm doing the exam again in July, is this. Introducing the ultimate CK mock exam series. So not only was there practice labs, lightning labs, and 3 mock exams in the course, now there are 10 extra mock exams, okay? What can I say? This is perfect preparation. This is if you're preparing for soccer or football and you're learning, this is going through game after game. So when you get to the big game, you're going to be ready. So this is an excellent thing. It's just been introduced. And as I said, great timing for me because I'm taking the exam again. So let's take a look at that. Here it is. Ultimate Certified Kubernetes CK Mock Exam Series. And very similar setup. Now here they're describing it a bit better in the sense of they're showing the exact representation of each section. Again, mirrored off of the real exam requirements, okay? And also, as I understand it, they're emulating here the different clusters. So one thing to remember in the CKA, and also the CKAD and in the CKS, they give you more than one cluster, okay? And it should be quite simple because they say at the beginning of the question, okay, this question needs to be performed on cluster C, right? And they give you a cluster name, and they give you the command to copy and paste, okay? So make sure you change context. But I can tell you a lot of people who get nervous or frustrated or worried, and they forget to change context, right? So they're in a different context than the context that's asked in the question. And they mess it up where they waste 5 or 10 minutes until they figure out they've done that. So this is important because it's, again, doing the same thing, okay? You're in context this, you need to go to that context to do this question, okay? Again, they're showing you the different pieces of it. Oh, you can win prizes too, which is always nice. I hadn't seen that. I'll have to do these really quickly. All right, so again, we press it. It'll be a very similar interface. And you have 10 of these mock exams, which is excellent. There's an introduction, 9 minutes. So I highly recommend. I think that if you do the course, you do all the mock exams, you redo them multiple times with the Kubernetes documentation, you do these mock exams, and you do the KillerShell exams, you really should be able to pass, okay? You should be able to, I think, very promised. This was not available before, the 10 mock exams, so this is fantastic. Questions. I think it's time for questions. Akash has asked, my exam's in 2 weeks, but I'm still not confident about networking and security. How to nail that part? Okay, so I might be wrong here. When I did the CKA, it was 3 years ago, there was no CKS exam. And so it was 3 hours. And one of the things I heard was because they had a big security chunk in there. And then they decided later to remove that or remove a big part of it and put it in the CKS exam. So I honestly don't know now how much of the security is in the CK. There must be some, but I know it's not the same as before. What I would do with 2 weeks left. So first of all, I'll tell you, I really never feel confident before I go to an exam. I don't know what it is. I just don't. I failed too many exams in my life, but I wouldn't worry about that so much. If anything, not feeling confident means you're not overconfident. And I think it's better to feel not confident than overconfident because I've seen a lot of people who get overconfident and then they definitely fail it. So I wouldn't worry too much about that part. As far as networking security, very simple. Go strictly through the exam requirements again, look at those sections, look at the CK course, go through those practice exams for those parts, networking and the security parts. See if you're really doing badly or if you just think that way. Because I've had situations where I've actually known a subject pretty well, but because before I didn't do well in it or something, I had a priori feeling that I'm not good in it. But the proof is in the pudding. You go through those practice exams, you go through the questions. If you ace them, then it doesn't matter how you feel, right? You ace them. But if you see that there are areas you have problems with or your knowledge is lacking, go back to Kubernetes documentation, read it, do the part of the course again, over and over again. 2 weeks is actually quite a bit of time. I wouldn't worry. And that's my advice what you should do. But I wouldn't worry about not feeling confident because I think that's probably a good sign. What is more valuable, the AWS Solutions Architect Associate or the CK? This is from Buckeye. Very good question because there are a lot of exams out there. I've had people ask me about the OpenShift exam because there's a lot of OpenShift, especially in Europe. OpenShift, I think, is more popular than in North America, although it's picking up steam. So that question really comes down to, what you're going to go into, okay? What, for instance, your job's going to require, what you're really interested in, okay? As far as just getting a job, very difficult to say because we're in a changing environment. If you look at the reports, Kubernetes is getting more and more popularity. And that's the $1 million question. What should I learn? OpenShift, Tanzu, Rancher, K3S, Rancher and K3S, same thing, but hard to say, right? If it's from a job point of view. So what I would say is this: what do you enjoy doing? Do you love AWS? Is that your passion? Or do you want to become a kind of expert, a little bit of an expert in everything, which is also something. So for instance, in my profession of data protection, I am forced to know a little bit at least about everything, because I could have customers coming and they have an environment, let's say, with, in my old days, Hyper-V, or one's got VMware. So it's not that I could become a full expert in those. I don't have time. I do have a social life, I have a family, but become an expert in it. But if you're working in a company or you want to work with a company that solely is doing AWS, then the answer is, yeah, go for the AWS. Again, if it's value on the job market right now, you can probably go to sites which show where the jobs are expanding and what your value you need. I haven't done the AWS Solution Architect Associate, so I can't vouch for how good it is from the point of view of training yourself or getting your skills up as far as how tough it is. I know the CKA will make you a better IT person, no matter what, because of everything I've talked about. You will come out stronger, even if you fail. But as far as value, it's hard. Yeah, and the rest here said, can't compare one to another. Again, so it depends what you're asking for. If you can do both, great. The more, the better. But obviously, we can't learn everything. How much time should one prepare per day if they already have working knowledge of Kubernetes to complete the CKA? Okay, so this is from Naresh. Again, when I talked about the cookie cutter solution, that's one of the key elements. It's very hard to say how much time should I spend per day because we're all different. I know from my personal experience, for technical things, it's better for me to spend 15 minutes every single day than an hour on the weekend or an hour a month, God forbid, because I just find that the more often I do it, the more it sinks in. That's just my personal opinion. If I want to take the exam at home and I do not want to go through the struggles of setting up my exam space, what are things I need to do, please? So if you want to take it home, you have to go through the struggles. There's no other way. And I'll give you another thing you have to keep in mind. Not just family members bothering you, opening the door. Some companies, if you open the door, you fail automatically. And my family were told, don't go near the door. But I have a cat. And my cat likes to go to the window to look at birds. And normally I put him in the basement for one exam, a DEEM exam. And I was at the last 15 minutes doing my review. And my cat, even if I close the door, if he wants to come in, he'll jump against the door and open it. And I heard him going, rah, 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 and he had to jump. So I didn't do my review. Okay. So there are struggles with doing, I almost failed it was my VMC DEEM exam because my cat would have opened the door. And when I said Proctor, it was my cat. It was my cat. No, cats do. So struggles at home. Again, the alternative to that is in your country or your city where you are, if there are exam centers, which will allow you to pay a little bit of money, not the full price, obviously, but to use a room where there's no one there, that's a great possibility. Or if your company are sponsoring this, they're paying the money, maybe they can give you a room which is closed off. But doing it at home has many struggles, obviously. Unavoidable. So Moonshad's courses or the KodeKloud courses are kept up to date. Okay, I can vouch for that because I've never had a situation, and I know because they'll send an email sometimes saying, by the way, we've just upgraded the exam environment to Kubernetes 1.26. Kubernetes is always moving, and there were some terrifying moments, I think, when I was doing the CKS, because I just did all my studying, and they switched the exam to the next version of Kubernetes, and some stuff changed. It's like, oh no, I spent months. So you have to watch that as well, something I didn't mention. But KodeKloud will warn you about that they're going to change the environment, because there's no point them having their practice exams on Kubernetes 1.8 or the VM Ubuntu, 20, and then now it's on 22 because they want to emulate. So that doesn't happen. Again, I mentioned that as well. You have to be careful on your Udemy because some people will courses them, let's leave them there. And Windows 2000 exam pass, and you don't read the 2000, you buy it. Oh no, money back, please. Okay. In the real exam, they do show the way to the questions. So some people, by the way, something I forgot to mention, there is a notepad, electronic notepad, you can't have one here, which you can use, and I did that, where if you skip a question, you write down, okay, question 1, weight is this, like 2, and I skipped it. That way, when you go back review, you can go back and do the ones that are like 6, 4, or 8, and do the 2s, and I don't think there are 1s, last. Okay, so they definitely show you that. How long do I have to learn before the exam? Again, very difficult question to ask. I answer because it depends on what you know now. I'll give you an example. I did the CKA 3 years ago. I've done a lot of other Kubernetes exams since then. I think it's going to be easier for me this time. I won't have to spend as much time for the CKA. Okay, so it's that simple. If you're fresh, if you know no Linux, then it's going to take a lot longer. You have to learn Linux. So it really depends. And that's why if you go look at the learning paths on KodeKloud, that'll help you answer that question. Are there any prerequisites for starting learning Kubernetes with Moonshot Secrets? No. So they're not official prerequisites where you can't get in, unless you show your certificate of completion or whatever. However, the learning paths are strong recommendations. So in other words, if you don't know any Linux, or if you have no idea what DevOps are, or if you don't know Docker or containers very well, best to go through those first. Doesn't mean you can't do the CK. You can do it. And I'll be honest with you, I actually jumped in the CK first. And I knew a little bit of Docker. I'd set up a Docker Swarm environment for work and learn on the fly, but it was really patchy knowledge. And right now, I'll admit it, I'm going through the KodeKloud Docker course because I realized I learned this on the Google fly. And so I've got a lot of holes in my knowledge. So for fun, I'm not going to do the exam, but I'm doing it for fun. What's the best method to search in the Kubernetes documentation? What I have found is when you're doing the practice exams, think of short key terms, okay? PVC, PV, not sentences. It'll take you to a location and know. So for instance, I use the mtdir one. I don't know why, because I had ended up using that, I think a lot. I can't remember. I would type mtdir and it would take me to that page. And I knew that the YAML that I wanted was in the center of the page. So boom. Again, you redo these practice exams over and over again. Even if you know the knowledge, you learn the tricks, like the physical tricks, the mental tricks. Okay, go to this, copy, go to this, go to etcd. I had a big problem with that. I couldn't learn it for a long time, like how to back it up or whatever. So you do those things over repetition, over and over again, okay? So yeah, so in the search, don't search for things too complicated. Don't search for the exact, obviously, question because it's going to take you somewhere. The documentation is deep, so you can get lost. And that did happen to me a few times. And what's really important to realize, you won't learn during the exam. So if you don't really fully understand something, don't expect to go to the documentation. Okay, I'll read it now, learn it quickly, because of the time. That's why they pressured you on the time. What are the resources allowed other than official KS docs, like GitHub? As far as I know, and again, this would be in those frequently asked questions in the exam, only the Kubernetes documentation. Now, in the CKS exam, because I did that more recently, November 2021, you were also allowed to go, I think, to the Falco page, to, I don't know why, but some of the vendor pages involve security. You were allowed to go to their documentation as well. But for the Kubernetes security, for the Kubernetes administrator exam, only the Kubernetes documentation. Okay, no GitHub or anything like that, because obviously they know that people could put in some answer, whatever. Can we create a lot aliases? So some of the aliases I think are there by default. So autocomplete's there. I think K should be there. I don't know about the others. As far as aliases are concerned, when I was studying for all these Kubernetes exams, I found some people had created like 1 billion of these aliases. Like literally, they created. The problem I found is it took so much time memorizing all these. It was better just to have a few lean and mean ones. K, autocomplete, maybe. Like the other one would be if you want to create the YAML file. So you want to K, create, deploy, and then, clients, and put it into a YAML file, .yo, YAML, o YAML, and then pipe it into a file. You can create a shortcut for an alias for that. I wouldn't go too crazy with the aliases, just because what if something doesn't work in the terminal? You want to be able to go back to whatever. Also, another important point, remember, you're doing this for work, and you don't know what job you might have. You might be a consultant where you're going to other people's environments. So you want to go into some customer's environment and spend half an hour, they're paying you by the hour, and you're creating aliases. What are you doing? I need my aliases. No, you don't. This is costing me money. So keep that in mind too. It's not just for the exam, it's also for your future work. Will the CKA course be enough for all the cloud provider courses? I would say no, but it's what you need first. It's a fundamental. And I've seen this a lot in the vSphere community now. I've become a Tanzu Vanguard recently, and I've seen vSphere administrators who are saying they don't really know Kubernetes. I'll just learn Tanzu. It's the same thing. But what is they start getting in a lot of trouble because they're thinking virtualization, and Kubernetes is different. So I tell them, Tanzu is the second level. Go there after the fact. Do vanilla Kubernetes first. learn that, then go to Tanzu and everything else. I think it'd be the same thing here, because the basic fundamentals, the core, will be the same. That's where it's all coming from, okay? The cloud providers, the different distributions, OpenShift, yes, they differ. They have different operators. They have different abstraction layers higher up. But if you understand the core, you won't get confused up here. Whereas if you go in at this level, I see people in the Tanzu world, again, asking questions. I can see they just don't understand. No, this is nothing to do with vSphere. This is a Kubernetes element deep down. So I'd recommend to do the CKA, even if, depending if you have no knowledge at all, do the KCNA first. Keep in mind that if you do more exams with Linux Foundation, they give you discounts. I purchased the PCA, which is the new Prometheus exam, because they're giving me a 50% discount. And that's because I bought a bunch and they sent me the hat, okay? I think after 4 exams, they send you a $15 hat. $1,000, you get, no, I shouldn't say that, but no, you get a hat too, but you do get a discount eventually. So you really never have to pay the full price. You can go to your boss at the end of the day.